When the first alien archivists arrived in the Sol system, they did not come as conquerors or saviors, but as mourners. They drifted silently above Earth in vessels shaped like folded light, observing a species that had no idea it was living among ghosts. Humanity believed itself young and insignificant on the galactic scale, still fighting over borders, still arguing over history, still dreaming of the stars as an unreachable future. What humans did not know was that long before their first stone tools, another civilization had already walked their world and left behind miracles. The architects of that ancient age were known to the galaxy as the Khepri, a species of immense intellect and delicate bodies, who reshaped planets the way humans reshaped clay. They had chosen Earth not for conquest, but for refuge, transforming its molten youth into a garden world seeded with oceans, balanced climates, and hidden machines woven deep into the crust. The Khepri called Earth Terra, a word that meant cradle, and they intended it to house countless future species, not knowing which would rise first. But the galaxy is never gentle forever. The Khepri vanished during the Silence Wars, leaving behind abandoned worlds and unfinished wonders scattered across space. Earth was sealed, its skis masked its deeper mechanisms, locked behind genetic keys that no surviving Khepri remained to activate. For millions of years, the planet waited, breathing, cycling, healing, while life evolved atop sleeping miracles. When humanity emerged, the planet responded not with hostility, but with subtle guidance. Tectonic plates shifted just enough to create fertile valleys, magnetic fields held strong against cosmic storms, and ancient nanostructures deep within the soil stabilized ecosystems after every mass extinction. Humans called it luck, never realizing they were inheriting a masterpiece designed by minds long gone. The alien archivists called themselves the Velari, and their task was to catalogue the remnants of elder civilizations and decide whether their creations should be preserved, reclaimed, or destroyed. Earth confused them deeply. By every metric, humanity should not exist on such a perfectly tuned world without knowing why, yet humans thrived building cultures, myths, and sciences, unaware that their planet was a machine as much as it was a home. The Velari observed silently as humans discovered fire, agriculture, and metal, believing themselves pioneers rather than inheritors. They watched humans invent wheels, unaware that gravity itself was subtly moderated to favor upright walkers, and watched ships sail oceans, whose currents were guided by ancient subcrustal engines. Every human achievement was genuine, yet quietly supported by invisible hands from the past. When humans reached space and launched their first satellites, the Velari debated intervention. Protocol demanded that inheritors of elder worlds be tested, not warned. If humanity could adapt the remnants responsibly, they would be deemed worthy. If not, the relics would be reclaimed. The first sign came when humans detected impossible regularities in Earth's magnetosphere. Scientists argued, dismissed, and argued again, until buried archives revealed patterns too elegant to be natural. The discovery shook humanity, not because aliens might exist, but because Earth itself might be artificial in ways no one had imagined. The Velari recorded the moment with reverence. For the first time, humanity was not merely using the hand-me-downs of the ancients, but beginning to see the fingerprints of their creators. And that awareness would change everything. Humanity did not panic as the Velari expected. Instead, the revelation ignited a hunger deeper than fear, a hunger to understand. Governments declassified archives, religions reinterpreted myths, and scientists abandoned old rivalries in favor of collaboration. If Earth was a relic, then humanity was its caretaker, whether chosen or accidental. Deep drilling projects uncovered impossible alloys, veins of self-repairing material threaded through bedrock older than life itself. These structures reacted to human presence not with hostility, but with recognition responding to neural patterns and emotional states. It became clear that the Kepri had designed Terra to bond with its eventual inhabitants, whoever they might be. The first activation occurred beneath the Pacific, when a research team triggered a stabilization node. Seismic activity ceased across half the planet, and dormant volcanoes calmed as if soothed. Human engineers wept openly, realizing that every earthquake disaster in history had been a failure not of nature, but of ignorance. The Velari watched in stunned silence. No inheritor species had ever adapted elder technology so intuitively without destroying it first. Humanity did not try to dominate the relics, but to converse with them, treating the planet as a partner rather than a resource. As more systems awakened, Terra revealed itself layer by layer. Atmospheric regulators adjusted pollution, naturally oceans began cleansing themselves, and extinct species returned through stored genetic archives, released gently into the wild. Humanity had not built these miracles, yet they learned to guide them with care. Other galactic powers took notice. Worlds stripped bare by reckless inheritors had long fueled wars over relic technology. Now here was a species turning an elder machine world into a living sanctuary without claiming ownership. The Velari Council fractured. Some argued that humanity was too dangerous, a wildcard too adaptive, too unpredictable. Others believed they were witnessing something unprecedented, not conquerors, but custodians. When humanity finally detected the Velari ships in orbit, there was no panic, no weapons, fire, only a message broadcast into the void. We know this world is not ours alone, and we would like to speak. It was the first time in recorded galactic history that an inheritor species invited its observers rather than challenging them. The Velari descended openly, their forms luminous and fragile compared to human expectations. They spoke of the Kepri of Terra, of the Silence Wars, and of countless worlds that failed their inheritance. They expected defensiveness, denial, or greed. Instead, humans listened. They acknowledged their ignorance, their mistakes, and their accidental privilege of living atop a planetary miracle. They asked not how to own the technology, but how to protect it. The Velari tested humanity relentlessly. They introduced minor disruptions to planetary systems to see how humans would react. Each time humans responded with restraint, prioritizing planetary health over short-term benefit. When offered off-world relic weapons, humanity refused. When offered faster-than-light drives, humanity asked first if such technology had destroyed other worlds. The Velari began to understand that humanity was not merely surviving on hand-me-downs, but learning humility from them. The final test was brutal. A simulated stellar flare threatened to overwhelm Terra's defenses unless humanity rerouted planetary power reserves, sacrificing orbital infrastructure and decades of progress. Without hesitation, humans complied, saving the planet at enormous cost. The Velari verdict was unanimous. Humanity was declared a successor species, not owners of the relics, but their voice. With Velari guidance, humanity began helping other worlds. They taught not technology, but philosophy, the idea that ancient wonders were responsibilities, not trophies. Worlds once stripped bare slowly healed under human-led restoration projects. The galaxy began calling humans the gardeners. Wherever they traveled, dead relics awakened, gently responding to human presence in ways no one could explain. It was as if the Kepri had anticipated humanity, specifically coding empathy into their machines. Humans never claimed superiority. They credited Terra, its ancient makers, and the lessons of inheritance. Yet quietly, humanity reshaped galactic culture, turning relic wars into preservation accords. Millennia later, when new species arose, they learned of Earth not as the birthplace of humans, but as the cradle of galactic stewardship. The echoes of Terra spread through countless worlds, a reminder that greatness does not come from creation alone, but from care. Humanity never forgot that everything they built stood atop borrowed miracles, and so they ensured those miracles were never squandered again. In the end, the Khepri legacy did not belong to the strongest or the first, but to those who listened. And the galaxy endured because humanity did. Humanity discovered that Terra was not unique, but it was rare. Across the galaxy, there were other worlds shaped by ancient hands, yet most had been wounded, stripped, or silenced by careless inheritors. When humans arrived, they did not bring fleets or demands, but listening stations, gardens, and patience. On the ash world of Karos once mined, until its core cracked, humans refused to extract another fragment of relic metal. Instead, they studied the damaged planetary lattice and whispered to it through translated Khepri logic patterns learned from Terra. The planet responded slowly, painfully, but it responded. Seas condensed where none had existed for centuries. Toxic storms weakened, replaced by gentle weather cycles that confused the native species who had never known calm skies. They asked humanity what price was owed for such miracles. The humans answered nothing. We only borrowed knowledge and returned respect. This response spread faster than any human ship. Species long suspicious of relic wielders began requesting human mediators. Where ancient machines once resisted activation, they now responded when humans were present, as if recognizing a familiar mindset. The Velari theorized that the Khepri had embedded a psychological key rather than a genetic one, a way of thinking that prioritized balance, continuity, and humility. Humanity fit the pattern not because they were perfect, but because they had learned through Terra that survival depended on restraint. Entire sectors shifted culturally. Relic wars dwindled, replaced by cooperative stewardship councils. Planets were no longer claimed, they were introduced. And through it all, humans never forgot that they were still inheritors, not creators. They treated every awakened world as a teacher rather than a prize. It happened without warning. Deep within Terra's mantle, beyond even Velari, understanding a signal propagated outward, using channels older than known physics. Every relic world resonated in response. The ancients were not gone. They were dormant. The Khepri consciousness had not survived as individuals, but as a distributed echo embedded within their creations. They had waited for a successor not to command them, but to speak with them. Humanity heard the message first not through words, but through dreams shared across billions of minds. Visions of star-forming nebulae, of worlds seeded and abandoned, of mistakes mourned and lessons preserved. The Khepri asked a single question: has the garden endured? Humanity answered not with language, but with evidence. They opened their records, their failures, their recoveries, and the worlds they had helped heal. They showed restraint, compassion, and an acceptance of responsibility without entitlement. The echo responded with approval. Across the galaxy, dormant systems unlocked, revealing knowledge not of weapons, but of prevention. Methods to stabilize stars, avert planetary collapse, and guide ecosystems without dominating them. The Velari fell silent in awe. Their role as judges was complete. Humanity had not just inherited the relics, they had passed the final unseen test. Ages later, humanity itself changed. Some evolved, some merged with machines, some chose to remain unchanged. Yet all carried the same foundational truth taught by Terra. Nothing truly belongs to a single species. When younger civilizations rose, humans did not appear as gods or rulers. They appeared as archivists, gardeners, and storytellers. They told of a world that was both home and teacher of miracles borrowed and responsibilities accepted. The phrase echoes of Terra became a cultural constant across the galaxy, a reminder that every wonder carries history and every inheritance carries duty. Long after human names faded into broader identities, the work continued. Worlds healed, civilizations stabilized, and ancient mistakes were not repeated. The Khepri echoes finally went silent, satisfied that their experiment had succeeded. Not because humanity was strongest, but because they listened. And somewhere deep within Terra, the planet that was never just a planet continued to turn quietly. Still guiding, still protecting, still teaching. A hand-me-down that became a legacy. Long after the galaxy had stabilized and relic wars faded into distant memory, Terra prepared one final act. It was not triggered by crisis or threat, but by completion. Humanity and its successor cultures noticed subtle changes first. The planetary systems no longer required guidance, the atmospheric regulators eased their activity, and the deep stabilization nodes entered a state of graceful dormancy. Terra was letting go. The Velari understood before anyone else. The Khepri design had always included an ending, not death, but graduation. A moment when the inheritors no longer needed the hand-me-downs. A message emerged encoded in Terra's electromagnetic heartbeat, translated slowly across generations. You have learned to care without command, to build without erasure, to inherit without entitlement. The planet began releasing its deepest archives, not schematics or power, but memory. The full history of the Khepri, their triumphs, their failures, and the regret that drove them to create sanctuary worlds instead of empires. Humanity received the truth without pedestal or condemnation. There was grief in the knowledge, but also clarity. Terra did not shut down or die. It became ordinary. The ancient machines dissolved into natural processes, the alloys broke down into benign elements, and the last invisible guidance systems faded like scaffolding removed from a finished structure. Earth became just a world again. Humanity stood witness to the greatest compliment ever given. They were trusted to continue alone. When future species asked why Terra was revered above all other worlds, the answer was simple. It was the place where inheritance ended and responsibility began. The echoes never truly faded. They lived on in every healed world, every preserved star, and every civilization that chose care over conquest. And so the galaxy remembered not the wonders themselves, but the lesson they taught. That the greatest legacy is knowing when to let go.